Good morning. Thrilled to be joined today by Adrien, a co-founder of Mirakl, to talk about marketplaces. But also, he's got a new book out this week. So, welcome, Adrien.
Thank you, Chris. Hi, everyone.
Now, before we get to your book, which I'm actually really excited about to talk about, can you tell us a little bit about your early days and how you started off in the marketplaces world with Split Games and what happened there?
Well, like any good story, it starts with a love story. I and there's two lovers. I would say there's my wife that I met as I was an early entrepreneur in the early 2000, and through her I was introduced to my co-founder Philippe Corot, and Philippe always had a great taste for technology and innovation. And in 2005, towards the end of that year, he basically said, I want to. I think e-commerce is going to disrupt commerce in general, but beyond that, I think e-commerce itself is going to be disrupted by marketplaces, because when it comes to buying online, people are obsessed by not just any time, buying at any time, not just buying anywhere on the beach, in their home, in the transportation, but they're mostly obsessed about buying anything. And we've kind of planted that seed amongst consumers that they can have access to anything, anytime, anywhere. And so the idea was that, but if you're a business, how do you actually serve that promise of anything, anytime, anywhere? Do you start building factories? Do you buy millions and millions of inventory that sits in your distribution centers? How do you actually reach that promise in a way that doesn't take your business down the drain because of all the risks? And it was really, really the early days of marketplaces. Even Amazon's marketplace was just relaunched. There was no Uber, no Airbnb, no Alibaba, no. And so with Philippe, we said, okay, we think this model that creates network effects, scale, the famous Jeff Bezos flywheel, is really going to be a dominant model. So we looked at the category that we felt was ripe for disruption because of the fragmented market, because of the competition on price, because of the large inventory nature. And it was the video games business, from new to pre-owned to vintage to collectors to merchandising. It was a huge category, heavily penetrated online. So we launched a platform called Split Games, which was an online marketplace. And we learned the hard way. Do you start by focusing on building the supply? Do you start by building the demand, and kind of that constant chicken and egg? And it's completely different cost structure,
And
different model.
I believe you also kind of almost a false start with letting people almost swap games until you realise that I might have the game that you want, but you might not have the game I want. So
Yeah,
you want what I've got, but I don't want what you've got. So you need to just buy it off me rather than swap with me.
absolutely. So I can see you read the book, Chris, but yeah, we made a lot of mistakes along the way. And fast forward, we finally figured out the model, and a few years into the project, a large iconic retailer in France called Fnac, who had been around for 60 years, a temple of books, CD, DVDs, electronics, consumer electronics in general, came to us and said, we're being disrupted. There are new entrants, new rules, and we feel marketplace is a way to respond to this threat. But if we try to do it ourselves, between convincing internal buying teams, merchants, and convincing stores, it's just going to be a nightmare. So come and join us. They bought our company. We became the marketplace team. We led it during 3 years. It was a very successful enterprise. It created a bit of turbulences, but it was a lot of change management. And ultimately, I think I would say the one thing that reflects really well, beyond the fact that out of billions in revenues, they communicated in their annual report that new categories accounted for close to 20% of their business. But I think really one thing that showed that we managed to create scaling relationships with new vendors, being consistent with the quality and the experience, and is the fact that if you walk in a store, in a Fnac store in France, the first thing you see on the top banner when you walk in, it says 12 million products available in this store. Obviously, the largest physical inventory is 400,000 in their largest store. So they've really created this full endless aisle experience and rethought their stores between high velocity, low margin, etc. categories. And that was all thanks to the marketplace. So with all that learning, 2012, we say, let's go and save the world from Amazon, and let's build this marketplace technology and go and give it to the world. And that's what we've been doing for the last 10 years.
Yeah, and I think you've already revealed one really important lesson for retailers looking to open their marketplace, and that is you need a marketplace team. And often that might mean bringing people in specifically to run the marketplace, like Fnac did with you. You need that expertise and buy-in, and you've got to create a team to actually drive this through. Obviously buy-in from the board, but you need the experts that know how to do it. And I think for many retailers, that is a very important lesson to learn. So tell us about the early days of Mirakl, because today Mirakl is everywhere. I mean, household names in the UK like Superdrug and B&Q and Debenhams, that they've all got marketplaces based on your platform. But I'm sure it didn't come easily. So how did Mirakl grow from the start in 2012 to where you are over a decade later today?
I mean, it was not easy, and it's still not easy. And we consider ourselves at the beginning of the journey. But in a way, you said it all. You got to get buy-in from the board, buy-in from the shareholders. You got to get buy-in from the teams. You got to fight the idea that marketplace will cannibalize your existing business. You got to fight the idea that the marketplace buying experience will basically downgrade the overall customer experience. You got to answer questions like, oh, what if people come back to the stores with a fridge that we've never sold in the store? I mean, I've heard the fridge story a gazillion times. To my knowledge, there was never a fridge. I mean, I never saw someone buy a fridge on the marketplace and carry it back to a store.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of evangelization, and ultimately today it's mostly peer selling, and there are so many. You've named a few, but so many life stories. Debenhams, the rebirth of this iconic brand thanks to marketplace. B&Q, 24% contribution to online sales after one year, 350,000 additional products. Now I kind of say that our customers, they are doing the selling on our behalf.
And moving on to your book, which is called The Online Marketplace Advantage. And if you want to get hold of it, you can get it on Amazon either as a Kindle or hardback edition. You can get it in Waterstones and probably very soon all good bookshops in the UK. But tell us, what can people expect in the book? And a spoiler alert, there are lots of case studies of retailers that have opened up marketplaces. So you'll get that. But if is this book designed for people that want to sell on marketplaces, or designed for people that want to consider opening a marketplace? Who should be reading it?
I think there are two layers. There is an overall general consideration, which is if you're a business leader, there is what we call the marketplace economy, which has been emerging and growing. And marketplace sales, depending on the countries, represent between 40 to 90% of online sales. So anyone who's in business, who's making products and thinking about the evolution of their distribution, who's selling products, who's transporting products, anyone who's a business leader fundamentally should be educated on the marketplace economy. So the book is about educating the mass of business leaders on one of the biggest disruption in commerce over the last decade. Then there is a second level, which is if you want to be actually an operator in this marketplace economy, as you said, as a seller, as a brand, rethinking your wholesale strategy versus now going direct to consumer. And if obviously you are a business that could potentially host your own marketplace, then the book becomes really about the hows, the do's, the don'ts, and not through just, Philippe and Mirakl standing on their stage and telling what to do. It's really about those, I think, 30 or so stories from all over the world. There's from Best Buy to Catch in Australia to NBC Universal to B2C, B2B organizations. Every business leader come and was I would say good enough to share with everyone their learnings, their mistakes, their fears. So that's kind of I would say the two levels of the book.
And then digging into the content of the book, tell us about the chapters people can find from launching a marketplace and actually that being the beginning of the journey, not the end of the journey, and how marketplaces are accelerating. What are the key sections people will find in the book?
So I think the key sections, they go really from it's a bit of a logical order, but it starts with like why launch a marketplace, things to consider, how to think about the organization of your teams, the revenue model, all the way down to the profiles of people that you were mentioning earlier about having people dedicated to marketplace, but also how do you leverage everything you have in terms of existing teams, all the way to the commissions, the category management, and then I think also beyond that, what can the marketplace open up for your business as transformations? Like a lot of our customers, and I think you've wrote about this, but they start to rethink their sourcing, and instead of holding some products in stock, they say, why don't we move it to the marketplace? Because the velocity on which we turn those products and the margin makes more sense to do it this way, using a marketplace as a lab. So it goes from really high level all the way to very practical consideration if you're going to be operating a marketplace.
Yeah, and I think it's worth remembering that marketplaces are nothing new. It's just the online element that's changed. We started off with high streets and then department stores and then shopping malls. Retailers have been grouping together and collaborating for many, many years offline. And marketplaces is just the new way of effectively doing it online. So I think this is a book really that, as you said, every marketplace professional should be reading. And I think that goes for the very biggest marketplaces. You mentioned sites like Amazon before. If you're thinking about getting a job in Amazon, you really should be reading this book first. But I think the real value of it is for those either looking to become marketplace operators or those who want to put their stock onto marketplaces. And that should be every retailer and every brand that is considering a D2C strategy, which accelerated massively during the pandemic and is not going to change anytime soon. Now, just as a final, just to give us a little teaser, I've read the book and there's a ton of case studies in there, but which are a couple of your favorite case studies and why? Sorry to put you on the spot. I know they're all great.
No, you're right. There's a lot of, there's a lot of case studies, and it's hard to make a selection. And I won't make one selection. I think I'll talk about three of them very quickly. There's one which is called Catch. It's an Australian pure play. Very entrepreneurial. Two brothers founded it. and they were kind of reaching a plateau, and they were really looking for something new. And I remember this case because I got a call from the CEO, and 6 days later, we signed the contract with them. 3 months later, they were live. And 2 years later, they had tripled their revenues thanks to the marketplace. And I think this was really the kind of big, bold spirit behind marketplaces. But on the other end of the spectrum, I think of a company like Kroger, the largest grocer in North America, who tells the story of their journey with marketplace, which is it's less easy because you have physical stores, you have delivery of the weekly basket, which is a different experience when you buy fresh food versus non-food and general merchandise. And I think they're quite open about the complexity of even having sometimes the risk of having a disjointed buying experience on the website. And I think the last one is there is a story around NBC Universal and how they've basically put commerce into content, which is something that people have been trying to do for ages, through, from banners to contextual links. And now they've really created this experience where you prolongate the show that you watch with this very nicely blended customer buying journey. So I think these shows that really, and we've talked only about B2C, we could have talked about B2B, but that would be for another time.
Well, Adrien, I want to thank you so much for your time today. And for those watching, if you want to get hold of Adrien's book, it's called The Online Marketplace Advantage. You've got a copy of it there. Fantastic. You can get it in Waterstones if you want to go to the high street. You can get it online on Amazon, and Amazon also got it as a Kindle version. So the hardcover's $26.99. The Kindle version's $19.94 currently. If you're a marketplace professional or considering launching your own marketplace, this is the book to read. So, Adrien, thank you so much for your time.
Oh, thanks, Chris. And I'm in Soho, London. So if you come with your book, I'll sign it and we can have a coffee and talk about your marketplace at the same time.
And how do people get a hold of you, Adrien? Is LinkedIn the easiest way to connect?
LinkedIn is perfect. Or Adrien@mirakl.com.
Fantastic.
Adrien with an E, Adrien, not like Rocky's wife. Not like
Yeah, note the name. It's on screen at the moment. Adrien with an E @mirakl.com.
All right. Well, thanks, Chris. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.